Welcome one and all. It's time for a red hot, spicy, tingling, dishlicious, juicy, succulent, tender Deadzone battle report. Rebs versus Veer-Myn. 200 points. So, let's dive right in, shall we, and tell you that the scenario is Occupy, where you have 4 very, very juicy, valuable objectives in the centre. Not quite as juicy as the ones you can see on the next page there, but 2 points available for each one, all right next to each other, so it's time for any potential big monsters to clash in the middle, because that's what you're fighting over. Everything in that area. 200 points, that means its first 20 victory points is the winner, and you can see here the Veer-Myn list. I'll go through mine in a moment. I'm using my Rebs. I do have my Forge Fathers as well, but I haven't quite got 200 points yet. I am working on a fresh juicy batch of them at the moment. They're actually on my painting table right now, and they're looking a bit spicy, but not quite ready yet, so gone with the Rebs to mix things up a little bit, and hopefully the people of the world appreciate it. So we've got Veer-Myn Progenitor, Rat Swarm, Stalker, Creeper. So the Progenitor is the leader, and they've all got some weird special rules, haven't they, the Veer-Myn? So indirect chemical grenade launcher on the Progenitor, and explosive weapons on the Creeper. Malignus, which is also pretty tasty, and anything with prey, that'll come up in the game. Don't worry about that. We'll see very shortly indeed. The Tunnel Runner, which is the big wheelie thingamajig, and that also has prey. Brood Guard with a burn weapon, which is never fun. And Night Terror, which is always terrifying, as you would expect in combat. And there is the table. And I've just noticed actually that I might be cutting off some of the picture. Let me just correct this here. Just a second. I don't want to be slicing off the picture. Okay, let's take a risk here. Let's bring up the thumbnail. There we go. I'm just going to change the size of the picture. And there we go, you can see all of it now. So, there is the battlefield. You can see actually my Forge Fathers there, because I did take a 150 point list along. This isn't my terrain, as you can probably tell. This is at Hobby Spots, which is a very small shop slash hobby area slash gaming area in Nottingham. And this is their Deadzone terrain. So I took my Forge Fathers along, just in case there was anyone with a 150 point list who wanted to play. But it's the 200 point Rebs that come out in this one. And you can see immediately that I've got 2 big juicy Teratons. And when I show you my deployment close up, you'll get a better look at my list. But there's the Tunnel Runner. There's the Terror there. And all the other rats, I do tend to get them mixed up because they're all about the same size and they all look quite similar. There's the Rat Swarm. You're not going to get that confused with anything else. Okay, so here's the Rebs. We've got 2 regular Teratons. We've got a Teraton Shock Trooper. We've got 2 snipers in the tower, one with AP ammo, one with regular ammo. We've got the Sphere Leader, who is decent, got a bit of armour and an AP2 weapon. However, the Veer-Myn do have a lot of AP on their side. How many regular Rebel Troopers have we got? We've got 1, 2, 3, and then we've got 1, 2, 3 Yindij as well. And I think that's my entire list. So we're kind of relying on the snipers and the 3 Teratons to do most of the work here. The Yindij and the Rebel Troopers aren't particularly great. The Sphere Leader's ability does allow, with the splat, does allow a model to switch some of its stats around for a test. So anyone that's got, for example, a 4+ and a 6+, you could switch the 6 to a 4 with a splat for one test. So anyone who's got, for example, a 4 to shoot, but a 6 to survive when they're being shot at, if you think they're about to die, you could use it to switch over so they're a bit more survivable. And you can see here that the Yindij are straight up there. I think they have scouts, that's why they've moved forwards. And the command dice. So what would I like to have in the opening turn with Teratons and Snipers? I would like 2 shoot dice, which I get, so I can use 1 on each. I would probably like move dice, because Teratons with a move dice makes them very fast indeed, obviously not restrained by terrain when it comes to their teleport move. Extra activation is quite nice early on as well, so you can get more models moved before they potentially get shot. And a splat, as I was just describing, is pretty useful for this army. You don't really care about fight in the first turn because it's not likely to happen. It could do, but it's definitely not a guarantee. And my opponent, who has less dice, ends up with 2 shoot, a splat, and a move. I think the splat allows a Veer-Myn model to move a cube, which is quite handy. I think that's what it does. I think if is it already activated, it can do that? Something like that. So it's quite a special ability. You can see that the Teraton has immediately been marked as prey, which means that in close combat, there'll be +1 dice for the enemy fighting against it, which I'm not too concerned about with the Teratons. So initially my opponent had a list that did not have the Terra in it, and I encouraged him to put the Terra in there because I was thinking with these 3 Teratons, if there's no big gribbly monster to scare them, it's quite feasible that they could just hop between all the Veer-Myn and eat them one at a time. And I think it could, unless I just roll badly, could turn into a bit of a stroll for the Teratons, because they're always going to dictate the fight, because they're so fast with the teleport. They can hide in terrain and then pop out with the teleport and eat you, and then use a move dice to go and eat somebody else. They're always going to be bigger, they're always going to be moving into the fight. And the Shock Trooper is pretty handy in combat as well, and that's even going to be bigger than all the regular rats, because that's size 2, despite the fact that it's actually not very big model. I think if they make another Teraton Shock Trooper in resin, maybe they'll make it bigger one day. So I encouraged him to put the Terra in there, and he did, and we'll see whether I pay the price. So you can see Yindij is already wounded there, and has become prey as a result of being shot at. I don't think you even have to be wounded to become prey, you just have to be shot at or hit. My sniper doesn't accomplish much from up there. I think I have a pretty poor roll to open the game. And my other sniper is hit with a grenade of some description, and is blasted out of the window, lands on the ground, takes a wound, and it's the AP sniper there. So you don't want your sniper falling out of a tower, because you want to be able to use your sniper rifle, and if you stand up and then use it, obviously you're not going to be able to benefit from the sniper scope without a shoot dice, whereas with the shoot dice, if you're standing still, you can do it twice. But alas, and then, what's this? Another frag weapon lands on the downed sniper and blows it into another cube closer to the enemy. So the frag has just sent the sniper, boom, boom, right into the clutches of the enemy. And then a rat steams in there, and yes, it was obviously going to eat a sniper that was already lying down, already pinned and wounded. So, oh dear, 1 sniper down, it's not going very well. Dead sniper. And I think it was that leader there that did it. That did the second grenade shot, perhaps. Or maybe, maybe that one knocked over my leader and wounded it and knocked it back into this cube. I think that's what happened. And also killed a trooper as well. So I'm losing models here. It's not looking too great, but I've still got all my Teratons ready to roll. I'm just spreading out the Yindij and the troopers a little bit. You can see here that the tunnel runner is shooting at the Teraton through there. Does a wound. Teraton steams in, and you know what I was saying earlier about how I expected Teratons to just teleport in there, annihilate the tiny rat scum, and then move on to another target. Well, you can see here that the Teraton has done nothing, so quite abysmal dice rolls so far. Teraton Shock Trooper has a similar fate, teleports up onto the 2-point objective, only wounds this rat, which is a bad thing, really, because there are other rats that could join in now, and with the rats still alive in there, they're going to have a friend to fight with, because on their own, they probably wouldn't fancy their chances against the Teraton Shock Trooper, any of the regular rats. But with a friend in there, It's not looking too bad. One is dead though. And this is the brood. What is it called? Is it the brood mother? Something like that. It jumps up there and stabs the Teraton in the back. 2 wounds. Not going that well. So my other Teraton, regular Teraton, decides, you know what, that cube's not going well at all. Let's just jump up there and use the one-use only flamethrower and set the whole cube on fire. So everyone's on fire, even my own model. But I thought it was worth it because potentially the flamethrower could have easily killed this rat. Probably isn't going to kill either of those two, so I was hoping this one would die as a result and the other two would just be on fire. And it would limit whether this one can act later. However, the Terror steams in, crawls up there, and the Teraton is immediately dead in 1 round. Again, not a very good roll from me, and it's not going well at all. Oh yeah, there's the attack roll from the Terror. So the Teraton is dead. We've lost 2 of the key components of my battle plan here. However, down here, the Teraton and the Yindage do manage to finish off that rat, which is a small mercy. And I'm just climbing up, trying to shoot things to death. I think I had an open shot on this Terror, tried to have a go with the Yindage, but didn't accomplish much. And yeah, because I think it has Rampage, so I was thinking if I put 1 wound on it, it could easily fail that Rampage test. So that was my thinking there. So, it's not looking great at the end of that turn, but I'm not way behind. It's 10-2, so it's not all over yet. If I can get some early kills in, if I can snipe this thing off instantly, if my Teraton can finally do something useful and actually kill something, then we're in with a chance. So, next turn, a couple of move dice, which is always useful. A shoot dice, good for the sniper. Extra activation, which is good because I'll be going first. And my opponent has got a couple of shoot dice, which are going to be handy. Move dice. So sniper is the first thing up, of course. And look at that abysmal roll. 1 hit. I think it shoots on 5s, the rebel sniper, I believe. So you'd expect half of these dice to hit. Because I used the ammo. And shocking. However, I did shoot again with a shoot dice and killed the Terror with that roll, which is significantly better, as you can see. So the Teraton decides, what shall I prioritise? Should I go for the objectives here, or should I just try and murder the enemy leader before it uses its horrible frag weapon on me again? And I decide I'm going to try and kill the enemy leader, because I should be able to do it. And look at that. Only do a single wound. So another not very good Teraton roll. And it's not looking good. You can see we've got a rat that seems to have, I think this is the flamey rat, looking at the weaponry there, and kills my leader. Well, expecting to kill the enemy leader, it's only wounded. My leader takes a shot and dies. Blech. Not looking healthy. Wah wah wah. And yeah. I do kill a rat though. I think it's just a regular rat that I shot off with this Yindage. Now, you'll notice that the enemy leader has left this cube. That's because the Teraton failed to do another wound on it as it ran away, which is abysmal. Which means that the tunnel runner can now have an open shot on the Teraton without an enemy being in the cube, which is not good. And up here, all kinds of craziness going on. It's just a total mess up there. Everyone's on fire, so no one wants to go in. This rat's jumped into the flaming cube to have a go at the Teraton shock trooper, but I don't think he actually kills it. The tunnel runner kills off the Teraton in 1 shot, which is what I was afraid of once the leader ran away. And wow, 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 indeed. Down with the Teraton. Nice blurry picture there. The rat swarm climbs up and kills the sniper. So I think the game is probably going to end at the end of this turn, and it's not looking good for the Rebs. We've lost 2 Teratons, we've lost both snipers, we've lost the leader, and now we've lost the shock trooper as all these fights take place. It was heavily wounded and on fire, so I wasn't really expecting it to survive. I was hoping somebody else would do a bit of work. And you can see I'm moving my Rebs into position to take open shots on the enemy a lot, but it's not helping. And the enemy are holding all the objectives. I do manage to kill another one, I think, though. Let's see, which one did I kill? That one. I think that one was already wounded. Managed to get rid of it. And I do lose, I think it's a, is it a Yindij? Is it that one? No, it's a different one. Lose the trooper. Everyone's getting gunned down. It's just a mess in the centre. And I've barely got anything left. I've got Yindij there and one there. That might be about all I've got. So it's definitely going to end now. And the rats have still got plenty left. They've got Tunnel Runner, they've got Rat Swarm. They've got various people over here that have barely had to get involved in the game. And it's not gone well for the Rebs at all. You can see that there. I did manage to pick up quite a few kill points on that last turn, but my opponent picked up another 15 points. And not many of them were actually for holding objectives. I think he's only on one objective. Most of them were for just murdering my entire force. So, not a successful game for the Rebs. And it kind of backs up my initial thoughts from playing the Rebs over the years. I don't feel like they last very long. Their stats aren't terrible. Looking at some of them, like the Teratons, you think they're going to survive, but I just seem to not have as good luck with them as I do with the Plague. I seem to do a lot better with the Plague compared to the Rebs, and that's been backed up by my tournament performances over the years. So I don't know whether the Rebs are actually bad or whether it's just me using them badly and assuming that their Teratons are just going to march through and eat everything, and then they actually don't. I do quite like the list I had, though. 2 snipers. I think probably I should have realised that my opponent was able to shoot at my snipers immediately, rather than just assuming that the Veer-Myn weaponry was all short range, like chemical stuff, flamethrowers and whatnot. I should have realised some of it was a bit longer range and used both my snipers early, before they got shot down off the tower. And yeah, I could have been more careful with the Teratons perhaps, not put them in range for the Terror to eat. But too late now. So let's just go back to the start and see if there's anything else that I'm spotting that I could have done differently here. Let's see, right back to the beginning. Okay, so from above, my plan was to pick things off with the snipers as soon as they emerge, and then Teraton bounce between the small size 1 models and just eat them all. Ignore the Tunnel Runner. Somewhat ignore the Terror, try and snipe it if it comes out into the open, and not get into close combat with it, was the plan. So most of those things fell through. The sniper falling out of the tower didn't help, and then getting consecutively blasted closer to the enemy so it could be eaten wasn't very handy. The Teraton here and the Shock Trooper didn't do enough in combat, needed way better rolls. You need momentum, and they weren't able to get it because they couldn't get in there and just immediately kill the enemy. What I wanted was to get in, kill, then use a move dice to go and kill something else. But I was never able to get on that momentum roll, and I just wasn't killing enough rats. There were too many of them shooting me back, and the rest of my troops, when you get outside the Teratons, everyone else is pretty feeble and is going to die from a stiff breeze. So, yeah, not an ideal game for the Rebs by any means. However, it was fun. It's nice to get some Deadzone action in, and this is probably the first Deadzone battle report for quite a while that isn't a tournament report. So it's very rare that I just have a game of Deadzone. Usually it's a tournament, and it's good to just get a game in now and then. And there is a bit of a community around here in Nottingham for Deadzone, which is nice. So I'm looking forward to getting more games in the future. It's a good game for an evening because it's not going to take too many hours. In fact, most of them probably going to take less than an hour. And I'm going to feverishly paint up more of my Forge Fathers so that I can have a more varied force and a higher point force for them. I've only got 150 points painted at the moment in my cabinet. Spoiler alert, I've got a new miniature display cabinet. which I'm going to be polishing the windows of tomorrow and probably making a video on it to show that off to the world, because I've managed to display 100% of my painted miniatures in it. So that'll be exciting for everyone to see. Also this week, keep your eyes peeled, because there's going to be an Age of Sigmar tournament report on Wednesday evening, which is very exciting. Of course, that'll be my first Age of Sigmar tournament. It was a doubles event where you play with a different partner in each round. So very crazy, very fun atmosphere, and 5 wild games to report on there. I'm also making plans to play some Kings of War this upcoming weekend. Kings of War and maybe some other game systems as well, as a matter of fact. So there could be multiple battle reports stemming from that. And the next tournament I've got is a Kings of War tournament, which is at Black Dragon Miniatures early in July. So I'm also feverishly painting some Night Stalkers so I can get to the required point level for that event. I need to get 1 and a bit units completed. I've been painting a troop of Reapers, so I just need to finish their base, and then I've got some Soul Flayers that I need to paint as well. And then with that, I'll be able to take my entire Night Stalker collection that's currently painted legally as well. I've got enough unlocks for all the ridiculous monsters that I've made. And other than that, there's nothing else to be said. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you would like to see on this channel, which game systems you like covered. And give me some tips on the Rebs if you think they can actually win games and they're not awful. Other than that, I believe all that remains to be said is, good night out there, whatever you are.